Welcome to Midlife Mastery. I'm Brock Edwards, and question for you today. Does your life feel rushed, distracted, disconnected? Anita and Dario, founders of Live Your Life, want to help you change that. They went from lives that were successful, but stressed and separate, to having lives that are present, connected, and purposeful. And they want to share their approach with you. Now, while we've all heard of the Mediterranean diet, they share how they've adopted a Mediterranean lifestyle. And you can too, no matter where you are living. Now, it's a lifestyle that incorporates food, naturally, but also healthy living, cultivating strong relationships and friendships, and being present with yourself and those around you. Kind of the opposite of our modern life. Intrigued? Well, give it a listen and let's get started. So today is a little bit different. I have actually two guests, Anita and Dario, and I am actually going to ask you to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go from there because I have a ton of questions for you today. So Anita, why don't you go first?
My name is Anita Heidema. I'm a rich life strategist, and I talk about balance with entrepreneurs. And I've created a book called Vitality Knocks. I've got a program, Rich Life Biz. I've done podcasts, various things. And now together with Dario, we've created Live Your Life, combining our two strengths and himself as a chef.
My name is Dario Tomaselli, born and raised an Italian chef. I work around the world, open hotel, restaurants, and now train chefs to become master on their skill in Italian cuisine. And now we together joined this venture of Live Your Life, which is basically food and lifestyle, and giving everybody an opportunity to enjoy the second part of their life.
Well, nice. So food and lifestyle. Tell me a little bit more about that. Go a little bit deeper.
So we decided that we would pull our strengths together. And it's interesting because Dario was a chef, an Italian chef, and his concept of what it's like to cook, to live in Italy. And myself as a rich life strategist in North America that was more cautious of the type of food and not to have too much salt and measuring everything. And so when we got together, we realized that the important thing is life and about what we call the Mediterranean lifestyle and pulling it all together. So that's why we created the Live Your Life programs and everything that we do.
Well, and for us, it was a tale of two story. I mean, Anita background family, it's from Europe, and it's funny because we joke about it. And Anita is more European than you would think in many ways to things because mom and dad immigrate to North America from the Netherlands, and for myself, Mediterranean lifestyle is what I lived all my life. I grew up in a way of conviviality, and I use that word not very lightly, because convivial is such an important element of what we are building with Live Your Life. And what is conviviality is nothing more than actually be present. Be present to
be connected.
Be connected, exactly. To people that you love, you care, through food and travel. And people may ask, what does it mean? Well, it's a simple thing. When you break bread with someone, it's when you really connect. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter in one moment, but as that moment and all the guards are down, it doesn't matter what you do, what I do, but it's when we really embrace our life together. And that's what we started. The way I grew up in Europe is it's very spontaneous. We get together on a Tuesday night, and it's 30 of us having dinner and really telling story and be presence and really be connected.
And it was something that was lost with us, right?
Yeah.
We found a time in our life where that was lost.
Yeah.
And we understand how important it is. Connection is what brings us all together. And that's why we have the programs to do it.
And one of the main thing actually is, I think, for both of us is not taking each other for granted. Because you can create all the programs you want, you can build everything you want. But if you are taking yourself and the person you care and the people you love for granted, well, then really it doesn't matter. It's a way of life. We call it the Mediterranean lifestyle, not to confuse with the Mediterranean diet, because it does not exist. Mediterranean diet does not exist in my eye, and it's a very simple element because. And we will explain you when we talk about the A principle. Mediterranean diet is if you go in the Mediterranean, I go back to my grandmother, for example, and I go say, Grandma, so what are we following today about on our Mediterranean diet menu? She will probably throw me out of the house. I said, diet.
You said grandma?
My grandmother.
No, you mean nonna.
Nonna.
Yeah. In Italy, she would have went,
you gotta be kidding me. So it's not, and this is sometimes what it gets confused. We focus a lot in all these diets, constriction. You cannot have this, you should have that. Or 1 gram of this, 1 gram of that. Instead of just research what you're eating, make sure you eat it, anything you want, but not in abundance, and share it in the right way at the table with your family, enjoying it. Create your flock. This is one of the programs we launched a while back. It was Found Your Flock, because maybe the people then you hang around, maybe they're not interested or something like that, and you really are willing to do that. That's okay. No, everybody's the same. But there are a lot of people that are willing to found, especially at our age right now, an opportunity to kind of reboot the unplug and just really live healthier as long as possible.
So clearly you had things going on in your lives where, chef, rich life strategist, you're already doing things. You already had day jobs. So I'm curious around, why is it important to you to kind of share this message around the Mediterranean lifestyle?
Great question.
Well, we felt it, we felt it ourselves, because we found each other later in life. And, we've learned, unfortunately, by our mistakes. And one of them was not being connected.
That's right.
We were unfortunately the wrong people too, but that was a huge part of it. And when we got together, we were finding ourselves, because we were busy in our own careers, that we were being separate. I think that year I was speaking in India and Europe, and you were traveling all over cooking, and you had all these chef events, and it was just crazy because we were finding we weren't. And we said, you know what, we're going to make the second half of our life the best part of our life. And we're going to concentrate on what's important to us. And in my programs, I call it your root success, what's really important to you. And so we took, inventory of what it is. And for Dario, conviviality is normal. For me, it was to a certain extent, but when you live in the Mediterranean, you see the way they do things. Like on a Tuesday, we go there quite often to Europe. On a Tuesday, we'll get together with Dario's friends, and they'll call us up and they'll say, hey, do you want fish tonight? And we'll say, sure, that sounds great. And we'll get there and there's 30 people having dinner on a Thursday night till midnight, enjoying themselves without saying, oh, I got to work tomorrow. I got to, and it's a total mindset change. And it's sort of something that's common for them, that conviviality and that connection that some of us in North America have lost. So, and our programs, they really took off during COVID because people were starting to realize it. And we realized it ourselves. And that's why we felt it was such an important message. And we're so passionate about it. First, the business was passion is cooking. So some people will find it out there as passion is cooking, because we're talking about getting back in the kitchen and cooking together. And that's still a big part of what our brand is. But live your life. It's living your life again. And conviviality and being together is a huge part of it.
In few little things is, and that's a great question you ask, because people often ask that question. So why would you do that? You both seem to have a business. You've been doing it for so long. Why? Well, when you pause and you realize that you had a second chance, an opportunity to reflect how fortunate you are right now, one of the first things we said to each other when we started going out together was, whatever we have now, we should bottle it and give an opportunity to give it to people for free. And it's the message in a bottle. The opportunity to really share that message is very simple. We live in a world of have to, should, must. We really don't have to do nothing. We should do absolutely nothing. We should just be what we are. And the biggest problem, if you want to use that, is getting caught into these have to things. Then we stop recognizing what we really are. And I'm speaking for myself, being in Europe, growing up in Italy all my life. And when I came to North America, I was getting caught into the rabbit wheel. And I was tired doing the same thing. And I was like, okay, this is not me. And I realized when I was going back home, people say, okay, can you just relax? And I mean, it's just, you give us anxiety just moving around like that. Now, the biggest question is when people ask, you say, okay, well, that's nice living the Mediterranean lifestyle, but we live in Toronto, Canada, Houston, Texas, New York City. How hell am I doing Mediterranean lifestyle? I'm not by the sea, by the Mediterranean. But that's the point. You don't have to be by the Mediterranean. It's a way of living. It's the way you structure yourself with these 8 platforms that we recommend, which are very simple. When you really think about it, when Anita is going to tell you, you really realize they're quite simple elements. Then we live in the Mediterranean every day. But remember, there are a lot of people live up in the mountains and rarely see the sea. Okay? But it's how they really connect. They really acknowledge every moment and every second of their life to really embrace loved one, friends, family, and laugh together. That's one of the things we kind of lost.
Yeah.
Well, that does seem to be a big disconnect that I see, that I experience myself, is we fill our life with distraction rather than being fully present. We're 10 different places at once, and we have a lot of great devices designed to help us do that. And so, I mean, obvious question here for you, Anita, since Dario kind of set you up for it there, is kind of what are the principles? How do you start breaking away from the life that we're used to?
Well, the first thing is to get present, to realize, that you are, as Dario mentioned, in that hamster wheel, spinning and spinning, and knowing what you want. And then looking at the principles, and they're very simple. It's going back to truly what you want in your root success, as I call it. And the first is around eating. It's around eating balanced, right? Not eating a ton of cookies, but having a cookie here and there is not going to be a big problem. Having more vegetables in your life, having more legumes. It's not a diet, but it's just enjoying more of those good foods as opposed to restricting yourself.
That's right.
Against others. And that's sort of the balanced living approach. The second one is, we talked about conviviality and connection and how important that is. I mean, studies out there have shown that if you're not connected over time, it really takes years off of your life. The connection is so important in the right and positive way. And that's why we talk about, again, going back to food, because food is a big element to what we do. We talk about cooking together, how important it is, traveling together, eating together again. How many times do people get home and they do an Uber Eats or whatever it is, a quick meal, sit in front of the TV and never actually talk, Look at those hours that could have been spent, cooking something healthy together, having fun. And it's about that connection with friends and family and those that you love. Having a stress-free life. People are like, that's impossible. Speaking from somebody myself that has trained myself as a hypnotherapist, I know that the brain can play many tricks on you and how important it is. And so, meditating is a big, huge part of it. Saying no, many times saying no is really important. And stress relief for us, meditation, we meditate together, is really, really important. It turns off that brain. I'm sure that if I was diagnosed much younger, I would be ADD. And I have so many things always going and great ideas and things, but I have to take that deep breath and step back. And it's so important for every part of your body.
That's right.
Being active naturally. How many times did we jump in the car to go to the corner store to pick up something? Take a walk, go for a bike ride. There's so many things. Work in the garden, do those things that normally you wouldn't normally do. I look at my aunt, and she's in her late 70s, and she's always out there in the garden. She does all her own cleaning still. She couldn't hire a cleaning person, but because of that, she's so agile still. She's able to move, right? And those kind of things are really, really important. And that's what they do in the Mediterranean naturally. Well, even it's just a natural instinct for them to jump on the bike and to go somewhere, right? Have a sense of purpose, a reason to get up. I was speaking about it earlier on today that, a lot of people, they retire and then that's it. Right? They sit at home, they watch TV, and some of them, it's so sad to say, but it's true. They pass away not that long after because they've lost that sense of purpose. Find what that sense of purpose is so, so important. Being grateful. I mean, we talk about this, that we're grateful every day for each other, and we have to express that and make sure that we continue to express that.
I think just to add to it, purpose is very important. And sometimes we put always our purpose in the wrong directions, in things that really no meaning anything to us personally, but we put all the energy in something else. So I think that once you really have that purpose instilled into you, everything really becomes lighter, rejuvenating, engaging, and build something that you are excited of doing. We talk about passion, continue that passion, not because you stop working or you just continues having that passion. I often say, when you get up in the morning, you gotta put your foot down and say, I'm really excited about what's going to happen today. If that is not happening, stop, go back to bed. Because then you're gaining something just sleeping more.
So that's all pretty, well, simple, perhaps not always easy. Just because we have our habits, we're kind of ingrained. We've been going all our lives down one path and now looking at another path. And so from your experience, where do people tend to, I don't know, have misconceptions or get in their own way as they're trying to implement these principles?
If you're so far from these 8 principles, sometimes it's better just to pick a couple of them. Like we have one of the 3 secrets, and it's 3 principles to work on that we offer for free, and it kind of works them through that sort of process. So, if food is something you wanted, then you look at eating balance and work on that one. And then maybe look at something that's stress-free. And then, so you could build it so it's instinctual for you, as opposed to a chore. The last thing you want is anything to be a chore, because then you've added more stress to your life there anyway. Like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And that's not what this is about. This is about saying no to things that you don't need to do, simplifying your life, realizing what is important, and then from there being able to expand on that, right? So to me, that's what I'm thinking, is that it's important to pick just a couple of them. We do retreats to Italy, and we're going to be expanding some more. So we have another one coming up in September, and we usually talk about these things. And it's funny that we don't get into an actual course or program, or it's not this structured thing. We just bring people to Italy, show them what it's like, have them feel what that's like to live a Mediterranean lifestyle. And a lot of times they just bring that home, and it's built into them already. Whether it's 2 or 3 principles of the 8, a few things have stuck in their mind, and it carries through. So.
And he proves it. Because again, we're going back to the have to. If we take somebody on a retreat and is regimented, it doesn't become a memory anymore. It becomes another bucket of rock. And whatever people we take to our culinary retreat, we always tell them, our first meeting is, we want you to live like an Italian, or like a Spaniard, or like a Greek, or like whatever we are in that moment. But live those moments, because those memory is what really build one of those foundations. Okay. And that is important. That is the most important thing that we want people to, to get out of it.
And have some more fun in their life again. Not everything has to be so regimented and strict and to-do lists and all of that. For a business, you might have to have some to-do lists and some schedules, but for life, enjoy a bit, take things as they go. We're going to be traveling for the next year and a half, and we break it down that probably 30% of it is somewhat planned, and the rest is by chance. Right. So we have an idea and we go with the flow. Oh, this has popped up. This sounds interesting. And that's the way life should be. It's some of it regimented, but the majority of it is just enjoying life.
The other big thing is no expectation. It really is not expectation. And really try to really engross yourself. If you get yourself too comfortable, then you go back to the old rules. Just get yourself out of the comfort zone. I'll give you an example. We walked a lot. Everywhere we go, we really want to know and understand the land. And how better to understand the land by walking? We rent cars.
And getting lost.
And getting lost. And so we were in Costa Rica for a couple of months. And the first month, we decided not to rent a car. We really wanted to walk and understand. And, we learned so much. Things then, and in the same token, we were not just learning, but we were getting fit. We were staying fit. We were discovering things that when you drive in a car, you don't look, because you drive like a horse, like that. You don't look left and right. You just keep driving. We really felt that we enjoy a little bit more. And I think that's one of the most important things. Really take a step back and really understand what it's in front of you.
What have you learned through the process? Because you had mentioned like you weren't always living this way. You had busy, successful careers and you're often different places. And so what's been the biggest growth for the two of you as you've kind of been adopting this for yourself and teaching it to others?
Oh, each other. How's that? We have 4 wonderful kids that we love to death. But each other, really, I learned how much I rejuvenated in my life to take a step back. I became, you think I've been cooking for almost over 40 years. And I became a better cook now at 56 than I ever, because I'm doing it more with a different type of purpose. I don't do to please the guest in a restaurant, because sometimes it's almost like you're on a show. You have to always perform every single day. We say you're as good as your last meal. But I am doing it more with a purpose. I live every day in a partnership with the love of my life. I mean, how can you compare it? Everything else, when you're sharing with somebody that is very important to you, which a part that has got a meaning, but it's still in the same token, I repeat it, you do not take it for granted. I learn every single day. I learn to become a better man. I learn to become a better Mediterranean, actually, because I adapt a little bit of what I got in North America and what I was brought up in Europe, and really create a great balance. Then we can now honestly apply and say, you can live in the Mediterranean lifestyle from anywhere. So I learn and I keep learning. This is the other thing, because we haven't stopped. Our greatest thing is that we are learning every single day. And that is the most exciting part of all this.
Yeah. And realizing that that's all part of it, right? Is the growing curve. But it's true. I mean, when for us, we made that realization of what it is that's true to us and what's really important. And one of that being us and our connection together and how important, we started creating our life around that. And that's where the business came around. And we were trying to figure out what that would be, because of course, at the end of the day, you still have to earn a living.
That's right.
Right. You have to earn a living. There's certain things that are priority. And it was, that day that Dario was hired as a chef in a castle. And for me, I've been able to have an online business. Like Zoom has been part of my life for 15 years now. So he was a chef in a castle, and there was all these couples sitting at this table. And of course, he's cooking for them, and we're doing the truffle picking and the wine and all the rest of it. But everyone looked and they were all entrepreneurs, and they were all stressed out. And they were all having a hard time. They were all midlife. They were, I don't know how to do this anymore, what to do. And they all were very interested in what I was doing and how we could go to the next level. And this epiphany, this light went off that, we left there. We ended up going to the south of France at that point. And we're driving along. We're like, this is our opportunity to create something by what we have and what we want for our life, and that is to be together and to talk about being together by creating programs that help people to be together, So it all was this connection that came together that we were like, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to share, because we've been through it. We've seen the other side. And it's not like it's, perfect every day with everything that you have all the principles. I mean, life is life, but we're just so happy that we've made this decision into what is important and how to help others in what we've been so excited from.
That message in a bottle, basically, is really spreading that thing that was in that bottle that for us meant everything. Then we hope and it's very simple in words. It takes work. Okay. Things don't happen like that. You need to, like I said, you need to work very hard every single day, but it's not hard work. It's just
when you love what you're doing.
That's right. So
that's all.
Learn a lot, that's for sure.
Well, you talk about people coming together. So you mentioned the example of friends calling up and say, "Hey, do you want fish on a Tuesday night or Thursday night or whatever?" And one of the things about fragmented lives, at least my observations in North America here is everyone's running so fast in so many different directions that by the time you hit midlife, it seems like there's fewer and fewer friends to call over. Like you've moved cities a few times. You may have had a divorce or two. So, friends you had before move on, or maybe your only connection with other adults was through your kids and now your kids are older. So you don't have that connection, or it's only through people at work and they're great at work, but they're not people you hang out with. It feels like that's kind of endemic. I mean, hopefully everyone's got friends they're well connected with, but of course they're not always in the same state or even the same country. One of the great things about the internet is we can connect all of the world. And one of the downsides is they're on the other side of the world. And so, I mean, how do we start cultivating those friendships later in life? Because it's so important and yet it's so easy to not do.
And it's funny, we have a blog that's coming out next week on that.
Perfect
that gets
timing.
into the specifics, right? Because we had a program that we did called Find Your Flock, and it was around empty nesters and getting connected again and finding that tribe, that flock of people that are similar to, what you're wanting to do. And we talk a lot about people that are traveling foodies, people that love to food and travel. And so it gets a little bit more specific because we brought in a program called the International Dinner Club. And pre-COVID, it was getting together with your friends and calling up those people that you haven't talked to in a long time and getting together. And as time went on, those things came up. Well, so-and-so was in another state. And then COVID kind of hit in. And what people were doing is they were having sometimes some Zoom dinners, right? That were the International Dinner Club. And that's how it was creating, because it was around getting together. So it has evolved in many ways. But as far as, meeting people, it's so true. You meet people through your kids, you meet people when you're younger, and not as much when you get older, and finding those people, because we get a little bit more set in our ways too, right? What we like and what we want to do. And it's important to do that. And, we think of some of the interests that have come up besides food for us. And, one of them is sailing. We're wanting to learn to sail. And so we're joining the sailing club, and we are going to learn how to sail and eventually do a flotilla. So we've been meeting a lot of people that are interested in sailing. Another one is I'm dragging him out to do salsa lessons. I love salsa dancing. And I thought, it's going to be it's a lot harder than you think, especially when you're a female that wants to lead and he's supposed to be leading and he is leading and we're both, but from that, from those hobbies and those interests that you want to do. And that was one of the other principles that we didn't talk about, is learning new things.
That's right.
And from then you can join groups. You can, if you like to golf, you join through golf. There's so many things within your community that you can join into. And that's one of the things that we have encouraged to get people together, is with our International Dinner Club. And those people that you've met, those friends that you have, doing something around a different country and theme dinner party, which is a lot of fun. And it brings in that conviviality again and eating together, right?
If I can add one more thing, stop being afraid. Most of the time we are afraid to not be good enough, or we are not the same person that our friend 30 years ago remember us, or 20 years ago. And we are trying to be something that we are not. And one of the most important thing is really understanding you are where you are, and appreciate, adapt, and be happy with that. Because the biggest issue many times I see that people have to, it's almost like putting this suit on, then it doesn't fit. But you got to get out and show that body that is not quite fitting in it. But it doesn't matter, because, for 9 hours, I'm going to suffer. And then eventually everything explodes. And then the real you comes out. Mm-hmm. I think it's so refreshing and rejuvenating to really be where you are. It's less stressful. People understand you a little bit more. They gravitate to you because they see what you are. So the biggest thing that everybody are looking at right now is fast. There is a very good friend of us, and I'm taking his quote here. This is not my quote. Fast food. In Europe, we have slow food and fast cars. So that is what you have to start thinking about it. To slow down in your life And then if you want to have a fast car, you can drive a fast car. But enjoy those little things in life and pause for a second. I know it's busy. Anita, in one of her programs, she said, everybody has the same 24 hours a day. It's not different than me or the guy in Europe or the farmer then works very hard to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do something. It's how we engage those moments. It's how we get up that morning and they say, you know what? I mean, Anita's excellent. Once a week, she connects with someone, with one of her friends, and she hasn't seen, maybe hasn't spoke in a month or so.
She's somebody that I haven't seen or talked to in a long time. I
just
reach
pick up
out
the phone.
to, and you think, oh, and it's important to do that kind of stuff, right?
And that makes you simple. It makes you comfortable. And that suit fits much better, not that tight, not uncomfortable. And every time you wear it proudly. And I think that's the biggest thing. Something really happened. We just got back from Europe 2 weeks ago, and I saw a very good friend of mine that I haven't seen him almost 30 years. And because my traveling, and every time I was in Italy, he wasn't there. And we sat down at that table. It's like we never, ever been apart. And after that, we organized a holiday together. So here we are. It took just a moment to pick up a phone. Let's get together. Boom, it's done. But sometimes we want to program our life. So we are so focused on programming our life, what to do, what not to do this list, do that list. Just do it. Just live it. Because life is to live only once. My grandmother often used to say, in life, we're just passengers. And you better enjoy that ride. Because when the ride ends, you missed it.
Yeah, there's certainly a depth to it. And what I mean by that is, as you're talking, I'm thinking that we're connected to so many people, but it's in such a shallow way. I mean, we think we keep up with their lives. We see them on social media and all that. So we kind of know what's going on. Yep. But we don't have the depth to it because we no longer write letters. We no longer, pick up the phone, have a long conversation. We just kind of skim the surface, and that's so powerful. I think just to be able to stop it and reconnect at that level. Anyway, I know that's the point of what you're saying, but I'm just thinking of all the ways we've gotten away. Like our lives are designed to live almost in complete opposite of what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
And if we don't have that conscious choice, it's easy to get swept up in everything. And
but I find even people will text all the time as opposed to just getting on the phone or meeting with somebody or having that connection, right? And it's sort of lost, and there's so much lost in translation as well when you email and text and actually having that conversation with somebody, right?
Yeah, and a text is a few sentences, not a conversation.
Well, and then is emojis, and then it is the code, LMO. I'll give you an example. Somebody yesterday sent me an email, and he put a code on it, and it said nothing for next week, and then FW, and then I just. I said, hold on a second. I said, I might be old, but I don't understand what you're talking about. And he actually wrote it down. And I said, okay, it doesn't much easier to just, actually, I pick up the phone and actually call it.
What do you mean?
we just hide around some kind of a gadget. And it's easier for us. Imagine the romancing part. Because life sometimes is a romance, romancing your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. You see each other, you talk to each other, you build a relationship, you're building that foundation, you look each other in the eyes, and you're passionate about it. Well, now you don't. Now you send a text. How it's just so, I don't know to use the proper word, but it's just not personal anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to go back to those simple things. I think everybody needs to live the life they're comfortable with. That's basically it. This is not for everyone. And we understand that. The last thing we want to do is preach something to everyone because some people are fairly content with their life. It's perfect. and
they want the fast pace, and they want to, and that's what they
need that, and they need that. And some people, they find themselves in a rut, and they just say, okay, how am I going to get out of this? Well, there is a solution.
Well, and you mentioned personal, and I think that's a great way of thinking about it, that so much of our life is impersonal, right? It's just not that connection, which of course is the opposite of what you're talking about there. Well, so I mean, I know you already started talking about the principles and that, but if someone's listening to this and it's like, yes, that sounds awesome, I want that in my life, what's the best way for them to start?
Well, the best way to start is to go with the 3 principles that we have. We call them the 3 secrets. So if they went to our website, oliveyourlife.com, so it's basically oliveyourlife.org. What you do is you join and you get the 3 principles, and it gives you tools to actually start to work on some of those principles. And it's a beginner start to slowing down, being a little bit more present, creating more happiness in your life, finding out what that is that you really want, and really being able to focus on that. And that's really the best way to start, to learn more, to be able to get there and begin, really look at that
action. Take action.
Yeah.
Take action.
Take a moment to decide, right, that you want to make a change.
If you could summarize it in just a sentence or two, how would you summarize it for someone who had never heard of this before?
It's really going back to basics in that life that's important. It's about connection. It's about happiness. And if someone is, you want in a couple sentences, can be impossible.
Conviviality.
Yeah, it's important to go back to that for your health and happiness, to going back to the basics.
There was a very interesting quote a while back about this very well-known gentleman, and it stuck on my head. His agent just said, "Oh, wow, you just closed a deal for $15 billion. And he said, "Oh, wow, that's great." But there was not that excitement because he had nothing to go home to share with. He just closed a deal of $15 billion. What is it if you have nothing to share? And to this day, it sticks on my head because, we give value to unvaluable things, but we don't value the most important things. So, listen, we are all humans, and I often say making mistake is healthy as long as we're able to reconnect, to learn from it.
Yeah.
But to me, the world is just allow yourself to give yourself another chance, and that's what it's all about. Don't be afraid. Take that step. Take that chance. And we did. To be honest with you. On our relationship, I mean, we know each other for 25 years, but we were friends, and then our relationship started after so many years. We were both married, and that was a chance. That was, we never thought, oh my God, no way, we're not gonna do this again. We live our life, but my goodness, look at that. Took a chance of our life and being with my best friend, the person I love, the person I care, the person I can build this project, this venue, then makes me and hopefully other people happy. That has no value. That's everything.
Well, Dario, that feels like a mic drop moment if there ever was one right there. Like that just captures it all. So you mentioned people can find you at oliveyourlife.org.
Yep.
And where else on social media?
Well, we're all over. We're on Facebook, oliveyourlife.now on Facebook and Instagram. We're also on YouTube. We're sharing all our videos for the year and a half that we're doing, all our travel videos over there. We've got some cooking videos to share some great recipes over there as well. We did do something called Fridge Feast during COVID, where you're trying to find what's in your fridge. How do you make something? That's one of Dario's greatest strengths. I say there's nothing in the fridge, and he ends up making a week full of meals. But go on over to YouTube as well, and we're going to be sharing a lot of our adventures. And our newsletter will have everything all down there as well.
And the next thing, just start.
Yeah. The best thing is start that 3 secrets, because that will start you on the path for the Mediterranean lifestyle for sure.
It's one step at a time. Just one step at a time. You can run. You got to walk first, and really walk with solid feet. And really, eventually, you're gonna you're going to get your speed.
Well, Anita, Dario, this has been fantastic having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.